All right, what's up, Internet? Ted from Nerd Immersion here. I'm back again at PAX East. So this time, a little bit different. We're not in the crowded convention hall. We're not surrounded by video games. We're more in my general wheelhouse of tabletop, specifically Dungeons & Dragons. But before I ramble on too much, I'm going to pitch it to you. Tell us who you are, what you do, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. So my name is Jonathan Mendoza. I am the communications coordinator for the Roll Initiative. We are a nonprofit that brings sort of organized play and opportunities to play to conventions and kind of the places where you wouldn't necessarily find it. We try to support local stores. We help them find people like GMs who need to organize games where they might not have had a program to begin with. Kind of with the mission of making it so that people who don't normally have access to tabletop games get access to it and can sort of learn to play and join a community.
So speaking of that, I know obviously, and we can talk about this a little bit more in depth in a second, you're here doing Adventurers League for Dungeons & Dragons. Are you doing other things aside from just D&D?
So right now we're focused primarily on D&D. We have a couple things come up. We're talking with like Eclipse Phase and places like that, which are just kind of starting to try and see if we can do organized play with them, but nothing concrete yet.
So we'll talk D&D then, obviously. So we're here. This is this is PAX East, right? This is a major convention, and you're running the Dungeons and Dragons section, organized play. What's that like? How did you get to be there, and what is it like running something for such a big convention?
Well, so when we started, actually, Wizards of the Coast was still sort of doing their stuff here. They had just kind of drawn back on it, and they were looking for somebody to sort of fill the gap. And this was back when the local coordinator program still existed. So a bunch of us got together who were all local coordinators in the area, so New Hampshire, Massachusetts, I think Rhode Island, a couple places like that. And we all sort of banded together and we said, okay, you know what, we've run conventions before, we've run game days at stores, we can make this work. So we sort of joined together, did the first year when we still had WotC. And then the local coordinator program ended, and the rest of us went, there's a void here that still hasn't been filled yet, so we built the Roll Initiative kind of that summer. So it was like last June, give or take, when we were officially incorporated. But it's somewhere within that time period. And we just sort of kept running it ever since. And that just became who we are. We sort of organically grew it from this group of people who already ran conventions to a group of people who went, okay, hold on a minute, let's back up and see if we can actually do this really well and for big conventions. So running it at PAX is a weird challenge because a lot of us come from the tabletop convention background, and it's very different when you can, people pay for their badges, they also expect to have tickets, they order online, they get all their games set up before so they can plan out their day. For PAX, everyone's kind of used to standing in lines. Just like LineCon is a thing for a reason. But we found that, people are willing to stand in line for D&D. They're willing, the first 2 times we did it, we were horrendously overbooked, in general. We had to turn people away. And we discovered that as long as people got in line and knew about whether or not they could get in, they didn't mind standing in line. So we said, you know what? PAX people are used to doing this. They clearly are okay with keeping it a certain way. So for PAX, we run it specifically the way PAX does. It's, stand in line, but if you're in line, you're probably going to get a seat at some point. So we try to make sure everyone gets a table. Obviously, the only cap to really what we can run is DMs. It's not like it's computers for us. It's not hardware. It's people. But we've really honestly had very little trouble getting a lot of games running at the same time.
Yeah, I can say it from personal experience. Last year, I just swung by a couple of times to try to get a spot, and the line cut.
Oh yeah, no.
And but that's a great thing. I couldn't imagine. You might have some turnout, but 5+ years ago with the surge of 5th edition, it's crazy the amount of people that are interested. And there's internet things, a Critical Role and things like that draw a lot of people in to play the game.
Yeah.
But it's a great thing to see. I saw, I swung by earlier. There was a huge line wrapped around for I think the 11 o'clock.
Yep.
So that's a little bit about organized play, how things work here at the Roll Initiative and all of that stuff. So what other things besides big conventions, I think, do you guys do stuff for local stores as well?
Yeah, so when we're not doing conventions, we have a group, we have some people who coordinate things like game days for epics and stuff like that. So specifically with D&D organized play, it's the epics, it's premieres. We do, when we have game days, a lot of stuff that we do is con-created content as well.
Sure.
So when we have stuff that we've written for conventions, part of the stuff that we'll have stores do as part of a deal is we'll give them, a time frame which they can premiere, or soft premiere, because it's already come out at the convention, but they get exclusive access to these modules, can run them before anyone else gets the chance to buy them on the DM's Guild, which is where they're published.
And you guys actually, so I know you guys can premiere con-created content, but do you guys actually create the content as well? It's like the Roll Initiative content, if you will, like modules?
So yes and no. Most of what we do is, as a company, we try to network people who want to create with conventions that want to have that. So for PAX East, for example, one of our guys who is, he does a lot of stuff with us, is also a writer. So he wrote Pros and Cons, which is the module we're premiering this weekend. And we connected with that. We help with design and layout and all that stuff, and that's kind of how we build. We're trying to build a community of people who create things, because a lot of the people right now are kind of working in isolation. They're working with this company and that company and this, and we want people to really kind of get to know each other and work with each other. Which is why, for example, for different arcs, much the way some other places do, they'll run multiple stories. But we have on our end, like, all the story coordinators, all those people are specifically on that project, and most of them are involved in Tri with one way or the other. So people sort of get to meet us as a community, and not just as this CCC churning out machine, which we're not. And that's kind of how we really, and that's one of the things that we love about it, is a lot of stuff that we premiere is stuff that we premiere at Archons, or people who have requested us to provide stuff for them. But there's really nothing like writing a module, and it's like, for example, one of the ones that I designed, Birds of a Feather, which should be out in the Guild soon, I think. I helped design work on that, and I ran it at OGC, where it premiered, I think, last July. And there was nothing like writing something and then being like, man, I really hope the players like that. Sure. And the players are like, that was fun, let's do that again. Yeah, and I'm it's great to see, and that's the kind of thing we want to give more people the opportunity to do.
So speaking of building a community, if people were looking to find more about the Roll Initiative or any of this stuff, what's the best place for them to go?
So we are on Facebook. We are the Roll Initiative on Facebook. We have both a group and a page. You can join us through there. We also have a Twitter, which is _Roll Initiative, I believe. And we have a website coming up soon, but that's currently under development. So when that comes out, we'll announce it on all the places.
Okay. And again, guys, all the links to everything we just talked about, those will all be in the description of the video, so if you want to check that stuff out, you can. So aside from PAX, what's your convention schedule look like? Do you know where you're going to be? Anything major that people should know about if they want to come out and see you guys outside of game days?
Sure. So PAX East is kind of the second con of our year. Usually we do Total Con in January. Okay. And then we do PAX East, we do Carnage Con around November. As well as, I believe we're doing PAX Unplugged again this year, but plans with notwithstanding. Yeah. And we usually do OGC around July in the summer, and I think there's another one that I'm forgetting, but if people want to know the schedule, we do have that posted on Facebook, and they can find it, or they can always, you guys can message us, and we'll let you know where we're going to be.
All right, I don't think I really have anything else. Do you have anything else that you want to say?
It's about good, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for the interview and the time here at PAX. I know everybody's busy, so I appreciate it. So anyway, guys, I will see you for the next Nerd Immersion interview, whatever it turns out to be. So till next time.